This is topic 3 of our solving systems of equations. This is the elimination method. So we've done graphing, we've done substitution. Elimination is going to work really well for a lot of word problems and anytime we have equations in standard form. So what is standard form? Good question. Hopefully you remember that it's this kind of an equation. So anything that looks like this form. Alright, so elimination method basically works by adding our equations or multiplying one or both of the equations, then adding them. So I would recommend pausing this and writing it down, then listening to my explanation. Good, so you've written that down. Step 1 is put the equations in standard form, if they're not already, both of them. Make sure they're lined up. So if you have another equation, put the x over the y, and then the total over the total. So determine which variable you want to eliminate. Sometimes it's easier to get rid of the x's, sometimes it's easier to get rid of the y's. Alright, so try to approach that with some sort of logic, and we'll go through a few examples so you'll see why. You then add them, and you'll solve for one variable. You'll have a one variable equation which you solve for. When you get that value, you plug it back into one of the equations and solve for the other variable, and then you have your answer. Check your answer every time. Alright, there's no reason to get wrong answers or to not know whether your answer is right or not. So the easiest kind are just adding. So what I can do is add these two equations. I add all the like terms. So what I'm going to do is add the x's. That gives me 4x. Y plus negative y eliminates. That's why we call it the elimination method. And then 5 plus 7 is 12. Now I just solve this equation. And that gives me x equals 3. That's half of my answer. Now I plug that into either one of the equations. So 3 plus y equals 5. I use the first equation. So y must equal 2. Since I got my y answer from my first equation, I'll plug them into the second equation to check. If I plug them into the first equation, it's just redoing this step that I just did here. So we do 3 times the x minus the y gives us 9 minus 2, and that does in fact equal 7, so it does work. Alright, so here, notice we have same x's, but there's not one positive and one negative. Here we had opposite signs, so they added very easily. Here they do, here they do not. So they need to have one of these be negative. So what I'm going to do is multiply the whole equation by a negative 1. So that gives me negative 2x minus y equals, now careful here, a lot of times people will forget to multiply this number on the end, but you got to make sure you do that as well. And then I'm just going to rewrite this equation. I make sure to line everything up so that it's easy to combine like terms. Those eliminate. Get negative 4y equals negative 8, so y equals 2. Plugging that back into either one of my original equations, do it to the top. 2x plus 2 equals 4. So 2x equals 2, so x equals 1. Check that in my bottom equation. 2 times 1 minus 3 times 2. It's 2 minus 6, and that does in fact equal negative 4. So it works. My answer is 1, 2. Or y equals 2, x equals 1. If they're not in standard form already, or not lined up, make sure you do so. So what I got to do here, in this case, is add y to both sides. So that gives me this. 2x plus y equals 7, and then 4x plus y equals 5. Now I can't just add them because nothing will eliminate. It could be 6x, 2y, and 12. So I'm going to multiply the top by a negative 1. So that gives me negative 2x minus y, negative 7. Now I get 2x equals negative 2, so x equals negative 1. Plug this back into either one of the originals. I'll plug it into the second one, I guess. 4 times negative 1 plus y equals 5. Negative 4 plus y equals 5. Add 4 to both sides. Gives me y equals 9. Whoops. Y equals 9er. Check my answers in the top equation. So 2 times negative 1 equals 7 minus 9. That's negative 2 equals negative 2. Yep. Check it in the bottom equation. 4 times negative 1 plus 9. It's negative 4 plus 9 does equal 5. So it definitely works. That's my answer. So here is your first U-try for this. Pretty simple. You either got to rearrange it here, then add them. Here you just got to add them. The y's will eliminate. Here I think you have to multiply by a negative 1.